Micro Squirrel Zonker strips are ideal materials for small minnow patterns. The Squirrel Zonker offers minnow-focused fish a supple, mobile imitation to charge down. Here are the materials you'll need to tie your own Squirrel Zonkers. So let's tie the Squirrel Zonker, a great small baitfish pattern. Into the jaws of the vise, I've placed a Mustad R74 9672 number 8. I probably tie these in 8s and 10s most often. I'm going to start by attaching some 70 denier white tying thread. I deliberately left sort of the front part of the hook shank bare. It just helps me with my head proportions because we're going to form a bit of a thread head and mount some eyes on there. So we're just going to cover the hook shank. Get that firm thread base on there, give our material some nice traction to tie to. Bring the tying thread back up. We're going to tie in some fine silver wire, small, depending on the manufacturer you use. This is Uniwire in this instance, so it's small. Secure that down the shank, the hook. Carry the tying thread forward just in front of the hook point. Place that in the material clip. For the body, I'm going to use some Arizona semi-seal and silver minnow. You can see by the list here, John Romer Arizona products make some wonderful dubbing mixes. These are just excellent materials to use on a variety of flies from leeches to minnows. So you should make sure you have some of these in your tying kit. I'm going to form a dubbing loop about 4 inches long, nice and manageable. Bring the tying thread back up. Rotate that loop to the top of the hook. Continue securing it right down to where you finish tying in the wire, and then bring that tying thread forward about 3/4 of the way up the hook shank. I'm going to take my dubbing tool, dubbing twister, insert it in the loop. I'm just going to use a cowbird style, whatever style you like to use. And we're just going to take our dubbing mix, take a pinch off. I insert it just a little bit off camera down in the bottom of the loop and slide it up into position. And we're just going to load a nice even dubbing loop with this Arizona semi-seal all the way up. And this material's got a beautiful reflectance to it. It's got a mixture of pearl, a little bit of silver, that pearly white. It just does a great job of imitating that light pearl white belly common to so many small minnows. So we've got our loop loaded, and now we just start to spin slowly at first, and we can pick up the tempo once we know the materials are well and truly trapped between the thread strands. And when those fibers start to radiate out at 90 degrees, basically horizontal or horizontal to the floor or perpendicular to the loop, we know we're ready to go forward. And we can come in and preen our dubbing loop like this, take any loose fibers out of the way, and now we're ready to start winding our dubbing loop forward. So we're just going to do that. Get that started right at the base. And try to build up a fairly robust body, so we'll just take our time, one wrap directly in front of the other. Every once in a while we can come in and just sweep the materials back. Remember, we're imitating a small minnow, so they have generally small bodies, so you don't have to get too fat and crazy here. And the beauty of dubbing, it gives the illusion of bulk, and all these fibers radiate and help almost a little silver halo, if you like, with the dubbing fibers. So we're just going to go right up to where our thread is hanging. Pull it back, a couple more wraps in there I can get. Tie that. Tie this off. A couple over the top, a couple in front. Trim away. Moisten our fingers a little bit. And just flow that back like that. We can trim. What I'm going to do is trim, because we're going to have a zonker style wing as the fly's name, the Squirrel Zonker, would suggest. So I'm just clearing a little path, but you can leave that just like that. Move some of those fibers away. And this is all going to help flow back and help suggest the minnow, just like that. It's great, great looking body. Now, frightened or injured minnows often have a little hint of red at their gills, so we can imitate that. I'm just going to use some red dubbing, any red dubbing you like. It could be rabbit. This happens to be, I believe, an Antron mix. I'm just making a short little dubbing noodle. I've just twisted it on the thread. Moisten my fingers a little bit to help with that process. Slide that right forward. I'm just going to form a little red dubbing ball right at the front of the pattern. See that right there. Now, for the wing, as its name would suggest, we're going to use some Squirrel Zonkers. This happens to be an olive color. Other colors out there, but this olive looks great for a lot of the lakes I fish in the prairie region of Canada, particularly in the southwest corner of the province of Manitoba that has some just fantastic stillwater fishing. This olive coloration does a great job of suggesting the fathead minnows and brook sticklebacks that inhabit the lakes there. So we're just taking a length of this, and the squirrel works well as opposed to rabbit because it's just a smaller fiber length, so it just better matches the small minnows we're trying to imitate. What I've done is I've trimmed off some of the fibers right at the hide and then trimmed that hide into a little point to ease the tie-in process. I'm going to lay that right in front of my dubbed gills and secure that forward. Okay, we're going to lay that on top, and now we're going to secure the wing in place using the wire. So we're going to take a half a turn of our silver wire to position it. I'm going to take my thumb and forefinger, I've moistened them, and we're just going to stand up the fibers so I can easily work using a zigzag motion and just work that wire through the fibers. So I'm going to come up, zigzag, open up the fibers, and just there we go, clear a path, come through, and I actually apply my pressure on the downside, and I make sure as best that I can that I get those fibers to stand up. So clear another path, work the wire through, stroke any fur that may have been trapped on the downside, straight up, and continue like that. You're not really looking for any body segmentation. This is just a securing step, if you will. And then we can come up around the shank a couple of times, tie off, and then helicopter or break the wire away using a pulling and twisting motion. Then all we're going to do is come in. I want to trim my tail about the length of the body here. So transfer that measurement. So make mental note of that. Come in with your scissors and like to trim on a bit of an angle. And there we have, this is all going to stroke together and suggest the dorsal surface of the minnow and its light belly underneath. And this is just going to come alive. So now the final steps really are just to build up a nice bulbous thread head that we're going to glue some eyeballs on. So we're just going to build this up. And there we go. It might take a little bit of time, but I've built up that thread head. And now we can actually whip finish the fly. What we've provided there is a nice foundation to secure our stick-on eyes. So the tying portion is essentially done. So we'll whip finish and remove our tying thread. For the eyes, I'm going to use some 2mm stick-on eyes. So with a little cup on the eyes that I've done by putting a fold in, I'm going to reach in with my dubbing needle, taking the eye off the card, and we're just going to lay it up and use my thumb. The bodkin helps position it, and I just give it a squeeze. I'm going to do the same on the far side. Another eye, come in, and Give it a good hard pinch. That gets the eyes positioned. Alright, with the eyes stuck in place, the adhesive on the eyes isn't sufficient enough to hold them there, so we need to augment that. And we're going to use one of the UV coatings out there today, and I like to use the Loon Outdoors UV Clear Fly Finish in its thick formulation. I'm going to start with a small application at first and just basically place it between the eyeballs. I like to also moisten the top of the hair if I can to keep any the fur rather from becoming trapped. And you can roll over as well and put a little dollop right in. This is almost like we're filling space here right now. So we can rotate that over, get that in there. We can work it back a little bit. And again, you want to do this in multiple coats. Don't try and do everything in one shot. Avoid that temptation to do that. So I've got that around there, and we just take the UV curing light, take that little bit off the hook eye there. Trouble with dubbing mixes is the little fibers tend to float around all over the place. There we go, a little better. And then we're just going to come in with that UV tying light and activate. You can see how that UV light picks up some of the highlights. And again, fish can see into that UV range, so why not throw a little bit of that in your favor? So that's the first coat. It's dry to the touch. A couple little short fibers here I don't want. I'm just going to trim them out. And now you can come in and use some of the thin formulation to put the finish coat on. So we just want to use the brush applicator, and I'm putting a nice coating over the eyes and around the balance of the head, just to help fill in everything. Again, this has nice consistency. It doesn't really want to flow all over the place. You can spin the vise around to keep it in control, or you can use your dubbing needle. And again, if you're not happy with the thin formulation now, I can build up and have my light handy and just give it a quick flash. And there you go. Basically, you're finished. You have a nice Squirrel Zonker. Great little bait fish pattern, and of course you can increase the size, alter the materials. You could certainly do this rabbit to imitate a bigger bait fish. I love the little dub body here. Just comes alive in the water. This fly really produces well when trout are fixated on small bait fish and minnows. For more information on fly fishing, and stillwater fly fishing in particular, please visit my website at flycraftangling.com. Here you'll find lots of information, including fly fishing tips, fly patterns, articles, dates on my seminars and schools, along with links to my blog and mine and Brian Chan's online stillwater fly fishing shop. You can also visit our store directly at stillwaterflyfishingstore.com. Please join the conversation on my Facebook page or follow me on Twitter. Thanks for watching, and please take the time to watch my other tying videos as well.